Joining me now, Chris Harmer is from the Institute for the Study of War. Stephen Yates is from D.C. International Advisory. Gentlemen, thanks to both of you for joining me. Chris, what do you think of what the president said?
Well, I understand the difference between political rhetoric and strategic guidance, and that was political rhetoric. It was not strategic guidance. Look, we've been bombing the Taliban every week for the last 13 years. They are still capable of taking over a school and executing 100 school children. To say that we are hammering them is demonstrably false on its face. I'm an aviator. I've flown plenty of missions. I love the idea that we're going to be tough with these guys, but right now we are not being tough. We are giving these guys a pass. Let me make one other point clear of what happened in this school. This was not collateral damage. This was not the Taliban setting off a bomb and they happened to kill 100 school children. They were going after these school children. They are targeting children for assassination because these school children were children of senior Pakistani military officers. This is the nature of the enemy we are fighting.
Yeah, I mean, and Stephen, so much has put into this idea that ISIS is so much more brutal than the Taliban, but the Taliban comes in and executes 132 children. I mean, I don't even want to repeat the stories. They're so horrific. Yet you have, the president standing there saying, and I understand it's political rhetoric, but he's standing there in front of our military as he's saying we are responsibly leaving Afghanistan. We're on our way out and we're beating the enemy elsewhere. I understand it's supposed to be rhetoric, but it seems like it is frighteningly naive. What do you think?
Right. Well, I think it's an enormous contradiction. He's saying that if you attack America or threaten America, you'll have no safe haven. But of course they do. And we do spend a great deal of time among our national leadership talking about the tide of war receding and ending the war on terror. And I think what recent events are proving is this whole notion that you can focus only on core al-Qaeda or just ISIS in Iraq. It just belies the notion that we have a broader threat from a group of people that have no notion of boundaries. Yeah. And we just don't have a serious prosecution of a war on terror anymore.
Meanwhile, the psychologist James Mitchell, who was the very man who used those enhanced interrogation techniques against 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, he joined, I'm sure you saw, Fox News' Megyn Kelly last night. It was an exclusive interview. Here's a little taste of what he had to say.
I got an award for the work we did. They told us we did a good job. They told us we saved lives, and I believe that we did. What changed? And then this stuff comes out, no opportunity to defend myself, and I feel horrible for the nation. I feel horrible in part because this puts everyone at risk. In fact, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed told me personally, your country will turn on you. The liberal media will turn on you. The people will grow tired of this. They will turn on you. And when they do, you are going to be abandoned. Well, I don't feel abandoned by the CIA. They didn't throw me under the bus.
Chris, I mean, first of all, what's your reaction to what you heard him say and what you heard in that interview? Because his countenance, what he said about the facts, were very different from what we heard from Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah, I would say that you don't go to war with the policy you want. You go to war with the policy you have. And these guys, these CIA interrogators, they were given a policy. They were given executive direction. They were given legal authority. They were operating under a fairly clear set of guidelines. Now, to go back 13 years after the fact and second-guess that, I just think is wholly inappropriate. If the country does not want to conduct enhanced interrogation techniques anymore, I'm perfectly on board with that idea. I'm perfectly on board with the idea that this is not reflective of American values and we need to change the way we interrogate suspects or detainees. That's fine. Don't go back in time and criticize the people who had the responsibility for doing it, what they were doing at the time.
Stephen, do you believe it yields results? I mean, this has been at the very base of this debate as we continue to have it. Do you think that torture yields results?
Well, I think that puts us right in the position of what is torture, is waterboarding torture. I think of something that is used against our special operators to get in their training can't possibly be torture, but there we are. Really, there are a couple of very chilling things in what he had to say. One is this notion of moving goalposts, that somehow after facts in the world and politics you can go back and have relative ethics and prosecuting people for following orders in the past, lawful orders in the past. And then there's this whole notion of him saying he's willing to die for his country, but he's not willing to die for some political theater, which this was. I think that was the most damning indictment of the entire exercise.
That's right. He said he doesn't mind giving his life for his country, but he does mind giving his life for a food fight for political reasons between two groups of people who should be able to work it out like adults. That's what you're talking about. Gentlemen, thanks to both of you for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Job hunters work